This is a pre-crowdfund pitch. I don't really want to do a crowdfund, but what do I mean by that? I'm not shy of the internet, and there's a reason for making a little film down here. For a long time, I've wished 3 or 4 people to work on this project with me. The project being put in the work to attract and work with independent film people or whatever, financiers, etc., etc. Moral support. I'm a little bit stale on it, but I've tried to write out an introduction to the thing. And it's all good. That's the thing. It's a thing over 2 years of good energy. I mean, I used to speak to people occasionally and write emails about some of it all, stating that I had figuratively in my head a sort of full Monty type inspiring thing. That's what it is. Now, I have to come down. I live in West Herefordshire, or have done for the last 8.5 years. I'm probably going to move because it's actually now impossible to get housing here. With COVID, literally all of London moved here. The rents have gone up so much, it's impossible. But what's actually disabled me, apart from the fact that today, 2 or 3 weeks ago, for the first time in 45 years, I can't speak. My cap fell out. But it's horrible. I probably thought a tramp. There is a little aspect to that, though, that I'm just going to emphasize in this thing that I'm trying to roll out. A good, inspirational, feel-good movie. Yeah, so I have had a problem for 8 years. At times I've revved myself up to try and make material or create a presentation that I can put online. But I've been living 2 miles up that way, and the internet was so disastrous. Now, for just serendipitous reasons, 9 months ago, I started to try and increase my personal life, and I decided to get data on a phone, this thing. And I discovered that if I come down here, I mean, basically, for 8 years, it's been that experience that it was 25 years ago of hanging on with your dial-up. Will it connect or not? And it just makes it impossible to do anything. And it's even difficult to send emails, or was. So I started to come down here where I have 2 megabytes, 3 megabytes upload, which is adequate. But I can never get complete. I mean, I am so organized. I mean, my point is, I am completely committed to trying to get this thing rolled out. I'd love to have a few people in a little loose team, and they can share any of the fees that get paid over time. I'm not a fool. I know there's no big money in seeding a movie. Now I've got this in my hand. Some people over the years, and actually over the last couple of years, a lot of people, I have very little to do with the internet. A lot of people, it's turned into a good thing in a way. Look, it seems that people now by default look you up on the internet. Now, I do certain very specific things on the internet that I started to do once I discovered I could come down here and get a usable internet, although it's a bit of a pain in the neck. It's very disruptive. I have to start my engine every half an hour. I have to keep the computer charged with another little bit of equipment, blah, blah, blah. But I can cope with that. Yeah, it seems just to have become so default that people look people up on the internet. Well, very little. There are a couple of specific aspects of my life that anonymously, because they're actually quite risky. I have done a lot of wildlife conservation in the last few years, and there are some really tragic tales to tell, to say the least. And I can't put my name to them. I do them in a almost poetical way, actually. Anyway, in respect of just this project, which is to try and get a couple of years of my life, although as I say to people, I'm just not interested in myself. Once you get to this age, you're not. It's having an inspirational tale. But there are two specific things. There's three, actually. I've got this in my hand because that actually, you see, people sort of have this, terrible time, difficult period. No. I don't have a second of, though I had some periods during 2003 and 4, which were horrible, but they were all necessary and useful baptisms of fire. When you're in the Slammer, or the Stone Hotel, as Bruce Robinson of director of Withnail and I would say to me, he just happened to be a customer at my old bookshop, you get endless plastic bags. That they used to bring around a few of these in the morning. You get your tea bags and stuff. I kept them. I walked out of that with a large supply of very useful, they're actually quite good quality, little plastic bags. The point is, it doesn't give me any negative feeling. That is actually from autumn 2003, me being in the Slammer. It doesn't make me feel bad. In fact, it actually makes me feel happy that I've retained them. I keep little pieces of paper in them. I keep my notes in them and things like that. This is not in any way a fearful tale. Well, there are some sad bits. But the most important thing is this. I've actually contacted a few people, or rather, there's been discussions going on in after 2020 about freedom of speech, and I'm going to write a little paragraph as to why. But I literally a few days ago myself, and I think other people should actually in certain ways, I actually literally stopped thinking about wider society. Politics, socio-politics, economics, etc., war, a lot. Because when you see I'm a pacifist, totally, and that's the important thing from the next little bit of a ramble. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I say to people, and it's true, although I know all the problems with wokeism, and I don't think it's a good thing. Political appearance is not a good thing. But I say to people, and I mean it, I wouldn't even wish a bad call on Donald Trump. I haven't had television for 20 years. I use the internet occasionally when I can, and if I have a period when I I wonder what one or other alternative media or non-mainstream media may have to say on Brexit or this or that. I always used to, as first choice, look up Afshin Ratinzi. It's about him, the presenter and creator of Going Underground, which just so happened to be on RT.com. And over the years I've watched Stacey and Max Kaiser with their Kaiser Report. But not just them, they have every year dozens of totally bona fide Actually, some of them quite mainstream guests, many of them academics. Only after a few years of realising that Mr. and Mrs. Kaiser make sure they have the real top quality commentariat guests, would I realise, well, it's a good place as first base looking, catching up on what's happening with crony capitalism. And you can hardly call Max Kaiser a communist, or Stacey. And then one or two others. I've never heard Russia ever discussed on RT.com, yet we saw it totally wiped off the internet 2 or 3 days ago. Point being, give up. I personally, I know that we have a few years coming, and I don't wear a tinfoil hat, where the economic forces, the economic powers that be, are making sure that alternative viewpoints are more or less closed down, irrelevant. My point being, well, there isn't any point, other than personally I happen to have reached, I know you can't look for the properly sceptical journalism at the moment, so I personally give up. And I'm going to put all my energy into just trying to get this damn thing made. It's been said to me by several people over the years, well, quite a few people, that yeah, there should be something done on it. But here's the thing. So, in fact, well, there's one other thing. Today, actually, yes, it was today. Today in the High Court or the Appeal Court, 4 women won a legal case that they were wrongfully arrested for staging a for gathering to to I think it was a vigil for the Sarah Everard case. Now, just stepping back from everything for about 3 or 4 years, rightly, I don't want any person to be ever touched, violated by anybody. But it's really not nice being a man anymore for several years. You can't turn anything on BBC, and I'm sure it's the same with quite a few other intelligent programs if they have them on other channels. And lots of alternative media. The whole of society seems to think there's a problem with men. Now, that, I have nothing to say or think about that, other than one thing, which is the story in 2003, 4, 5, it's kind of over in 4, but then we had to go and get a few laws changed. That is about anyone, even a non-professional legal person in any way. I had nothing to do with the law. I hadn't even had a parking ticket prior to 2003. And if anybody had said to me in 2003, you'll be reading law books and trying to figure out how law cases work, I would say that'd be daft. Right, but to get to a point, so you have the societal impact, you could say, or the societal aspect. But there's the person, and I know something about myself, which is nobody can ever take away. It's completely anything else. Even actually bringing up a child, these things are all totally and utterly ephemeral to the self. And I know that throughout my 20s, I was never somebody who, I always used to dislike violence and conflict. In fact, I was quite a coward. But I was a pretty selfish person, and I was actually quite conceited in my 20s. But I was quite shy as well, so it wasn't awful. It didn't kind of manifest as total arrogance or anything like that. But there was a moment in my late 30s, 40, I suppose, when I was with my kid, or no, my kid had been with me for a week, and it's been more or less the case for 3 out of the last 4 years. And I got through all my trials and tribulations, and I think it was 2006 actually, or 2000. It might have been it might have been 2007. So there was all of this stuff that is the Samson versus Goliath. It was all gone, and you're knackered. Doesn't do you any good actually, but you're freed in a way. And there was a day where my daughter had been with me a week, and I was doing the laundry. And when my daughter lived with me for the week on, week off, we did that for a long, long time, years. Now, I put so much into it. I did a lot of the extracurricular, in fact, almost all of it, education, etc. And wanting to show her the world, travel. We would travel a lot. All for her. All for her. But I was often absolutely buggered, and it hadn't been for me, although I loved every second with my daughter. But here's the thing, yeah, there was a day when I was doing the laundry, big pile of laundry, and then sorting it afterwards. And I thought to myself, oh, God, I need to go. I need to, blah, blah, blah. I didn't used to go out very much myself. In fact, basically, I didn't drink, so it wasn't much fun. Well, no, anyway, it's just like, oh, come on. Give yourself a night out doing something. As I was doing this, I thought, no, hang on a minute. This is pretty boring, doing what I'm doing. But I love doing it. I love being here, sorting the laundry. I care for this person. The definition of a young child is they can't care for themselves. And here's the thing. It changes you inside, obviously over a long period of time. But any slightly inhuman, selfish core that one has, and I basically had it to a certain extent, as you're looking after a kid, and I think it's probably more so with a girl, but maybe not, you are changed. You become something different. You become the person who is more philosophical, deeper. I wasn't the sort of person who would rise to any provocation ever, really. But I'd be bugged inside. I'd be confused. But then when you have a kid and when you're that nurturing, caring role, you just become something else. You just see through it all aggression, violence, anger, damage to others. You just want none of it to happen, and you want to. Okay, you might not be able to do very much about it, but you do want to act in a way that's just totally about peace and goodwill to all women and men. And I would just want as many people, many men particularly, in the future, to spend a lot of time around kids. That's how you have the safest society. And it seems that everyone's forgotten this. I mean, quite rightly, you have women on Radio 4 endlessly. Men are hurting women, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of course. But the real way, there is no downside with the obvious codicil as usual. The more men that are spending time evolving, maturing, becoming well, that thing the other side of being a lot of time with a young kid. That's what society needs. It's the only way. There is nothing else that changes you, really. Nothing can. That's the thing that. Anyway, yeah, and then over the years, I mean, my mental setting is who's standing up for themselves, who's fighting legal cases against the government, etc., etc. And these conversations are so difficult to have. I've had them, many of them, and you realise that it's actually quite fashionable for others to speak in a way, but never actually meaning they're going to do anything. And then I thought today, yeah, because I've heard so many people over the last year or two complain about freedom of speech and things like that, but it could be anything. I was thinking, yeah, a good way of putting it is once in your life, fight back. Once. That's all you need to do. Once in your life, fight back. What I mean by that is, arguably 4 or 5 times over the last 20 years, I personally have had unfair and inappropriate, sort of negative activity towards me. And actually, it's quite hard once you've fought once, although it wasn't that much of a fight. Once you've fought once and won, it's quite hard. You almost feel you've got a responsibility to keep fighting for the fair and just, just outcome in anything. But then sometimes I haven't, and then you realise, it's not that it doesn't eat you up fighting an obvious unfairness or an injustice. That doesn't eat you up. It exhausts you. But maybe sometimes it's just better not to. But yeah, once fight back. That's maybe that's the kind of byline almost. Anyway, yeah, I just, by the way, I'm constant, meaning every day I wake up at 5:30. I don't drink, I don't go out, I don't get stressed, I don't get depressed. I'm totally constant myself, and I just love to find a few people who wish to just, they can spend time looking through things and get their head into it, and then as a little gang go out and try and get some next stage, which could be a flashy professional crowd fund for 50,000 quid to really set up a first stage production company or something like that. I mean, I can't make a full-on Hollywood movie, but if you believe in something, I know it's a good story. I know it's a great thing to share with others. I don't believe in the Disney version of everything. Anyway, there we go. Maybe that's, a few on board, and they can have it all, and they can make decisions with me as to how the story is best told, if they want.